Hello, welcome to HIPSI 1. Today we're talking about small groups, which is chapter 11 in our textbook. Let me first define, what a small group is. So two or more people who interact with each other because of shared interests. Now, we may be, or we are dealing here with small groups in two different, aspects, but they're all, I would think, towards the same goal. What I mean by that is that we may small groups, meaning, your interactions with, family, friends, etc. This would be at the meso level, if you remember, micro, meso, and macro. This would be at the meso level. And the other aspect is about small groups as a way of, therapy, as a way of, what are the benefits and for of doing, small group, interaction, some sort of therapy or meetings. Anyway, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. I should first point out, exhibit 11.1, which is you see on the screen. And these are the benefits of small group, starting from the, top one, socialization. Well, yeah, I mean, as well as, families, it involves socialization. Now, families, are great, don't get me wrong, but, trying to interact with, members outside of the family, I would think that would enhance your socialization. The same way with belonging. Of course, we all belong to a family, but how about, a certain group? Conversation, right? Again, there's nothing to say that a small group cannot be the family, but here we're extending that net to include, basically anybody. So the conversation could, gears towards things that may or may have not been discussed, or you may not want to discuss with family members, but how sometimes we're more comfortable talking, with people who are, not family, because you feel like, you will, hurt somebody in your family because you're talking about them. So support, again, I think it goes hand by hand with, belonging, conversation, socialization. You feel support. Not to say that, plus, I mean, either if you have support of your family, this goes beyond that. And networking, that to get, from, information, even, the opportunities for a new job, whatever it is, education, in a way, not in a way, it's actually, if you, I know now that you would have to do it remotely, but if you get together with some of the fellow students, which I recommend that you do, because I think this pandemic and this remote teaching maybe have deprived, I'm going to include myself too, with some, networking, and I can also say socialization, conversation, support. So I will definitely encourage everybody, from now. I mean, hopefully we've been doing that, but find ways to do more. So let me keep going. So there's several definitions on small group. You can see that this Newman, it's kind of similar to the one, the general definition. Set of people, which means more than two or more. That more or less um, have something in common. As a unit. You can read the example on your own, and you can see how this would bring all of the benefits that I mentioned before, because it may be that we're talking about for lack of a better word, a special group, which you might not be the majority, let's say, and finding either even respite or some sort of support, etc. That those people will bring you. And also could people who are going through the same a similar situation. Let's keep going. Ritzer, a relatively small number of people, I guess they all start the same way, over time develop a pattern relationship based on the interaction with one another. So, this may not have been, even though I think in the example before, this sort of dynamic should probably and most likely would apply, that you may start I don't know that many small groups just meet for the randomly, I should say, but it may happen, and the dynamics in the group change after in time. So I think when we put, and I know I haven't finished discussing all of the definitions, but I think you should think overall, so there's having a same sort of interest or sharing something, and small group change through time. Let's keep going. Ballantyne, Roberts, and Corrigan. Again, two or more people who interact each other because they share interests, goals, experiences, and needs. Yeah, there's this one is really, also similar to the original definition. Now, here, I guess, I don't know, maybe, we're also getting into, therapy and how, recovery groups in whatever way it is, alcohol or drugs, or, moms who, I don't know, want to get together because they suffer postpartum depression. It's interesting that it's not that it hasn't happened a lot, but through the last couple of years, we had really WWW for over 20, I think by now it's almost 30 years. So what I mean is that, a lot of, blogs have out there that, you can share. Now, I know we're talking about small groups, so I'm going to keep it that way because I really, we're talking group, but a small group, I should say, but we're still, even though it could be on the web, it doesn't mean that it can be small. So the philosophy of group work have shifted through the years. Before it was recreation. I don't know, maybe women or were going to do kneading, or I'm talking about way back. Not that we don't do it that way. Or men were meeting to whatever, and it benefit the the community, the set of families. Also, when we're talking about immigration issues, as those, if people who came before you may help you to navigate, and that was very common since we're a nation of immigrants. So by the 30s and 40s, there were more formal organization, that were doing group work. And during World War II, this was, very, popular. Not that it, let me say something, not that I'm going to claim that work groups were, developed, they were used after the Civil War. But it's interesting that a lot of academics and historians, especially in the mental health area, emphasize or state that after the Civil War, it was really when mental health issues for combatants, right? Soldiers were sort of beginning that, why did Johnny came back, and and this happened. They didn't have the same name. I can't remember the term, like battle something or something. I can't remember what it was called before. A post-traumatic stress disorder. This is way before. But my point is that during conflict, like a war, in this case, World War II, and we had more chances to develop, therapeutic measures, and we valued, group therapy as, quite efficient and effective. Not to mention, it makes things, more cost effective, right? Okay, let's continue. During the 60s and 70s, social work education included courses on group work. Some students even major in group work. Okay. After that, we kind of focus more on individuals and families, and then then again it went the rise of the importance or the effectiveness of work groups. Yeah, so it is, like I said, economically, cheaper because you're in a group, right? And it's been shown to be quite effective. So because people in a group, may help each other. All of the things that I said before, empower each other. You have similar needs and goals, and so on. So I'll continue. So this are in Exhibit 11.3. We have 5 types of group, and we have the purpose, leadership, size, and duration. So I'll just go and present the table here, right? So we have therapy, which it should be obvious, to assist individuals to resolve individual emotional and behavioral problems. You have who sort of runs the group, the duration, etc. Mutual aid, excuse me, this are, this is sort of like, groups that are developed towards, the same interests that may or may not be led by a professional. And you see we have, I think, groups for cancer survivors and, other things like that. Psychoeducational, yes, this is, more of a trained professional that would conduct this. And, excuse me, the example here may help you sort of visualize what psychoeducational types of support, group, small groups in social work means. Groups for couples preparing to adopt a child. This could be, potential or the training for a group of foster parents, etc. Self-help. I mean, I would say that there could be a lot of overlap in most, if not all, of this, different groups. The self-help. So, like Alcoholics Anonymous, there may be conducted, or the leadership may be a lay person, but usually it's a person who have, suffer or experience, either alcohol, drugs, etc. And the last one is to, try to either accomplish a task. This doesn't have to be necessarily a, problem meaning mental health necessarily, but as you can see, it could be advocate, for the interest of either your own community or another community. And, you have a goal that, it's not necessarily, like I said, an individual for, mental health, but it's or actually it could be mental health, but not necessarily the individual who is attending this group meetings, for instance. It could be for the, a society or social issue. So in the next couple of slides, like you see, we have a longer definition and information about each of the different small groups, starting with the therapy group. I already said something, and also you could just read the slide. What I would recommend is that you look at the videos. This is a down here YouTube video. It's a live demonstration of group therapy. You may I don't think any of the videos in this, that I included on this PowerPoint are that long, but you could, once you get the, main, um, an idea of what each of this group look like, you don't have to necessarily watch the whole thing, although, I recommend, and I also recommend that, if you're interested in one particular, that you watch or read more about it. So the mutual aid groups, again, there's a video on that. Um, Again, you can see what, some information here in the slide. Again, I checked, some of these videos, they're not, 2020, there might be a couple of years, but I check, and you should be able to, depending on the way you're looking at the PowerPoints, you could click on at least copy then and put it on, on your browser and watch the different, videos. Again, these are benefits of mutual aid groups. This is psychoeducational groups. Again, this video is down here. It's 10 steps to lead a psychoeducational group. Again, I definitely would recommend that you do that. Some of this information was available on that table up here, right? As you can see, same thing for self-help groups. I provide a YouTube video. I didn't want to make this particular video too long by adding other videos, because then we'll be, this would be a very long. So I encourage you to look at those, watch them. Again, if you not sure what a task group exercise is in terms of what we're talking in the chapter, here's a video. And the same thing for the virtual groups, which I think now with not only the pandemic, but with the technology. And another thing that, we don't see much of it right now, and some of you will, at some point in your career, I would think that you will see is those VR, virtual reality, or virtual or AR, enhanced, no, augmented reality, AR, I think they're called. So there are people, developing those in social work. I think there might be more advanced, obviously, in other areas, but we can benefit from the developments. We can have somebody have those goggles on, and a joysticks, or all of those. I wouldn't say that is in its infancy, but especially in social work, partly because of the cost, we don't see it that often. But I would think that with more technological advances, which make things cheaper, and maybe our experience during this time would will make this a common thing, meaning virtual groups. I think with it does. I don't mean that there are now. Of course, there are a lot of virtual groups. What I was talking is the virtual reality or AR type of situations. Obviously, there's a lot of convenience for virtual groups, especially when maybe we're talking. Maybe this is a group that it might be difficult to find people in your state because I don't know, people who suffer from a particular disease, and it's so maybe uncommon where you live, but nationwide you can have 5 people easily, and so it opens a lot of more doors, these virtual groups. I'm not, because of time, I'm not going to cover the other slides. The only thing I'm gonna, oh, by the way, there are other videos embedded, as you see here, right? And so here, and also here. Don't forget, when you are discussing the case study, to please use those theories in your discussion. Again, let me go. Okay, so yes, there are even more videos here. This the dynamic of, you could see, it's this may be a central person, right? And then you have that around, and then the web pattern is the way maybe each person don't have to necessarily go through the I don't know, the leader here, right? You can go directly, the dynamics, and that would be it. I know that we have not meet live, but if you definitely here in the office, I will return your email. If you think you can benefit from having live session, it wouldn't be necessarily for lectures, although it could be to explain certain areas. Please let me know. And with that, I am done for this week's video lecture. Thank you, and you have a safe, I guess Halloween is coming up, so be safe.